Hello and welcome to another episode of the Citizens of Lorcana podcast, a podcast where we invite you to be part of their world. Today, we're jumping right back into our most iconic card rankings, so without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another week. And since last week, James, we've had Christmas and New Year's. How were your holidays?
They were quiet and good. So nothing fancy, but also nothing bad. So it was nice.
Sometimes that's the best way to do it. I went up to Idaho, spent about a week with my kids up there, so that was awesome.
Nice. See some snow?
No snow.
No snow.
I was talking to my mom today, and it's snowing today, but no, it just rained while I was up there. I was a little disappointed.
That is disappointing.
And then I thought about going down to the Strip for New Year's Eve here in Las Vegas to see the fireworks show. But as you've pointed out a great many times, I'm not a night person. And once about 11 o'clock hit, I was gone. So
yeah, we just stayed in and listened to all the illegal fireworks going off all around us.
Yeah. I love it. I love hearing the boom. I did wake up at midnight and just anyway,
everywhere.
So last time we ranked the most iconic cards that cost 4 through 6, and you're kind of itching to get through the rest of them because there's not a whole lot left. But I was like, no, we're at the hour mark. So anyway, if you haven't had a chance to go listen to that, make sure to go back and check it out. Today, we're giving our final rankings for the cards that cost 7 and up. So you ready to jump into this?
Yeah, let's jump into that, and then we'll give her, since it's going to be shorter, we've got a bunch of other things we can cover afterwards. So this is going to be a multi-epic, like, different things episode, right?
So this is part 3 of the episode, yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll do some other stuff.
Yeah. So, do we want to jump into this, or did you have a story about some players?
No, we'll do that after.
Okay. All right. Well, give me a second to pull up my screen here.
So what we're going to do is what we've been doing before, and I think my cards are listed first, but you're going first.
Okay, I know. I was looking at this, and I was like, wait, who was first here? But there's Elsa. Well, anyway, spoiler alert. I was like, that's definitely James. That's the wrong screen.
It's close to the right screen.
Yeah. I just had one prepped, so I'm just gonna do it like this. Okay. So I chose second here.
So this is Amber.
Yes.
7 cost.
So you're doing Amber 7 cost. I'm doing a song, Look at This Family. It's a sing together, sing 7, and it allows you to look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You may reveal up to 2 characters and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. And this is something that we've talked about. Once we're reaching these 6 cost and higher cards, we're kind of scraping for iconic cards. But the reason why I chose this is because the artwork is pretty awesome. It's even got its own legendary, enchanted, which is pretty awesome. And it was on one of the playmats. So I think it's pretty iconic for the art, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I've signed multiple playmats because the devs, when they do Pack Rush at one of the DLCs, they usually have this mat, and they ask everyone to sign it who plays a Pack Rush against them. So I've been able to sign multiple of those because of that.
Oh my gosh!
I sign in between the tree branches over on the top right, sideways. I tried to sign in the same place every time.
Wow! Look at you. That's hilarious.
So I picked what I think is probably the most iconic 7-drop, and that is Surfer Stitch, the 4/8 2 lore. Unless you're in Germany, then it's only 1 lore. Character card that when you play this character, if you have 2 or more other characters in play, you may draw 2 cards. And I mean, it's obvious that this is one of the best cards, especially coming from the first chapter where card draw was a little hard to come by. It has an enchanted as well, and the enchanted is awesome. Personally, for me, this has 2 different iconic moments, which is in the very first Rise of the Floodborn weekly that I went to on a Saturday afternoon. I had this in my deck from the previous Amber Steel deck, and I had thrown in a few cards from Rise that I'd managed to pull the day before. And I think I had one or two Mufasas. And so I was playing this, and I had a Mufasa out, and they of course banished my Mufasa, and what comes off the top but Surfer Stitch. And I have two other characters in play, so I get to draw two cards, and this giant body comes down, and it won me the game. So
that's hard to come back from unless they had a B prep or something.
Right, exactly. So it was just that awesome moment of the Mufasa pulls out the Surfer Stitch in this perfect moment of a game. And it was also, I think, one of the first times I ever finished first at a weekly. So it was pretty cool. And then the second was when first chapter was still fairly hard to get, but in the reprint status in, I think it was in like December-ish of 2022? 23? 23.
December 23, yeah.
So far in the past. But anyway, a year ago, I bought we were limited to 6-packs at one of the local stores, so I went in and bought 6-packs, came out to the car, opened a pack, and pulled the Enchanted Surfer Stitch.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, yes. It was one of those awesome things.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So that's why it's personally iconic to me.
I remember this card because Eric was obsessed with what's his name, Pudge?
Pudge, yes. Got to feed him that sandwich.
Anyway, still a good card.
Yeah, honorable mention to that Pluto that's on the screen there because we let him feel that.
yeah. Man, good times. Okay, we are moving down to Amethyst, and I went ahead and chose Ursula, Sea Witch Queen. Again, I guess we're just choosing all the cards that have enchanteds on them.
So.
This card actually has 2 different enchanted treatments on her. So the reason why I chose Ursula, which is the most iconic 7 cost for Amethyst, she's just a good card. I mean, she's hard to get out. She's a shift 5, but you do have the 2 cost Ursula in Emerald, which is usually what you pair this with, where you can look at your opponent's hand and get rid of a song. And then if you can get this down on turn 5, oh my gosh, that just shuts down so many different play lines for your opponent. Plus, being able to quest with her and exert an opposing character. And she has 3 lore. I'm sorry, I'm doing a terrible job of reading the stats. Yeah, she has a big body. She survives Medusa. This is a tank of a card if you can get it on board.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun playing this in my Emerald Amethyst deck.
Yeah, I remember we talked to Eric about this. This card definitely featured in your championship run.
Yep, indeed. I love that card. At least one copy is going in probably every Emerald Amethyst deck I build from now on. Okay, so I picked the other iconic 7-drop Amethyst, which is the Jafar. I can't remember the sub name there, but he also Striking Illusionist. He also has an enchanted, and he's a 4/5 with 1 lore, but the ability when you during your turn, whenever he is exerted and you draw a card, you gain a lore. And this card, I mean, it's mainly iconic because of the insane hype around it before it was. In fact, I think this may have been the most hyped card ever in all of the pre-release seasons, and it just fizzled. Now, granted, it still is in some top 8 decks at big tournaments, around here and there. Someone puts it in there every once in a while and kind of just surprises someone with it when it comes down. But it never lived up to the hype. Not even close.
I was doing some research. I was thinking about making some posts on legendary cards that kept the most value and that lost the most value. And this Jafar lost 94% of its value. Because like you said, it was so hyped. I mean, that ability to gain lore whenever you draw a card combined with a whole new world, like everybody thought this was going to be game breaking. Yeah, I remember all that hype.
and it was just too hard to actually combo all of that at once.
Yeah,
So
it really is.
I mean, mainly because you had to shift this to be able to exert it immediately. Otherwise, someone would get rid of it immediately.
Yep.
And in order to shift it, you had to have, if you wanted the whole new world line, you had to have the steel Jafars. And of course, as soon as you play a Jafar, someone's like, "Oh, I guess I got to stop the shift so that I'll do everything I can to get rid of that steel Jafar, so you can't shift."
Yeah, I mean, if your opponent's not prepared for this line of play, then it can be very effective. But in the competitive scene, most people have answers for those baby Jafars.
Exactly.
All right, moving on down to Emerald, and this one I chose because there just weren't a lot of great options. I guess I could have gone with Milo, but I went with, from the most recent set, Bend to My Will. 7 cost, uninkable. It's an action. It says each opponent discards all cards in their hand. This is another one that had, I'm not going to say an insane amount of hype, but there was a lot of hype to this one. The one thing holding it back, though, is the fact that it's 7 cost and that it's not singable. I mean, I cannot believe that this Jafar you just talked about is not able to sing this action, this card. It should have been a song. So,
And it's definitely a powerful card. And if games last long enough to be able to play it, it can definitely destroy someone late game. But and I think the Emerald Steel match deck that wanted to play this would use a whole new world to hopefully get one of these after you sung whole new world, and then play this and destroy your opponent's hand that they just drew.
that's pretty nasty.
But of course, that was 1 in a million luck of having a whole new world to sing and 7 ink to play with the game lasting that long. So it just never saw the play that it probably should as a powerful card.
Yeah, because that is a powerful card, and they made it appropriately priced.
Yep. So I picked, of course, Clarabelle, another card that was in my my Emerald Amethyst deck, and this is the 7-drop 5/6 with 2 lore, shift 5, and the ability at the end of your turn, if chosen opponent has more cards in their hand than you may draw cards until you have the same number. This is a great card for card draw in Emerald that did not have a ton of great card draw outside of Diablo. And of course, everyone's going to be targeting your Diablo. So if you put this in there, especially in Emerald Amethyst that didn't really like playing Diablo, this was a great way to just keep your hand full near the end of the game, especially against other decks that drew a lot where you didn't.
Yeah, and again, I think this one, Clarabelle's kind of like that Jafar you talked about, where she was really good when people didn't know how to play around her. But definitely better than that Jafar because she has a better ability, I think. I mean, sometimes your opponent just wants to hold on to some cards, and that will benefit you. But if they get to a point where their hand is basically empty, there goes the benefit. But she still has a pretty big body, and she quests for 2, so she's a good card in her own right.
And if you play her in a deck that is heavily featured with bounce effects, then as you're bouncing everything back to your opponent's hand to fill their hand back up at the end of the turn, you get that many more cards.
Oh, man.
I was watching Wonderland stream yesterday, and he was playing an Emerald Amethyst deck. Ruby Amethyst, and he played against a deck that had a Clarabelle, and his opponent was drawing 2 to 4 cards every turn.
Jeez.
He just kept bouncing stuff back, drawing more, bounce stuff back, drawing more. Of course, that game, Wonderland had all kinds of stuff with, Red Purple had all kinds of answers for things, but still giving your opponent that much in their hand was not a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Ruby. I mean, we cannot not pick this one.
Right?
Be prepared. 7 cost, uninkable, been around since set 1. We all know, we all love this card or love to hate it. Banish all characters, and it's a song. Like, this is what Bend to My Will should have been. Should have been a song like Be Prepared. But this card has been a meta-defining card since set 1. And, it's kind of surprising it doesn't have an enchanted with how popular it is. So, but yeah, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, it's just is what it is. It's be prepared. Everybody knows what it is. I picked the character version of it, kind of.
I love this card.
Scar, Vicious Cheater. Has Rush, 6/5 stat line with 2 lore, and the ability during your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may ready this character and you can't quest for the rest of the turn. So you could sometimes play this character down and effectively wipe the opponent's board with just the one character instead of playing Be Prepared, keeping your side intact and your opponent's side decimated. And that's why this guy is always threatening to be in Ruby Amethyst decks, coming down on turn 7 and destroying things.
Especially if you have, not that this was super common or ever really played, but if you had something like Mouse Armor to give this guy resist, or, Cogsworth, brutal.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move down to Sapphire. And I think we chose the 2 most obvious ones for Sapphire. I went with Lucky Dime. As a Sapphire stan, this card brought a win condition to Sapphire that it needed. Just being on the board, this card is very threatening. I remember our multiplayer game with Jim and Dan on Hobbies and Happiness. I think Dan was threatening 14 lore in one turn with this card if it had been on the board. So this is the ultimate example of a swing card in Lorcana.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that this is the opposite of the Jafar. This card was like, when it was released, everyone's like, way too expensive, can't work, not going to happen. And it was like a 2 or 3. I think it got down to $2 or $3 as a legendary.
Yeah, I bought it for like $3, and today it's still selling for $10.67.
Yeah, and it jumped so fast after release, and everyone's like, wait a second, this actually does work. I picked the set 1, Hades, mainly just because it is a very good card. It's got a good stat line at 3/6, got 2 lore, and the ability to put chosen opposing character into their opponent's inkwell face down and exerted. This was Sapphire's only real removal besides Let It Go.
Yep.
So,
yep. Good card.
In set 1, and they didn't get much more for a while.
All right, let's move down to Steel. I chose, again, not a lot of great options. I went with Arthur, King Victorious. So obviously 7 cost, uninkable. Has a shift 5. This card, when you can get him online and going, is actually a very good card. He gets Challenger +2 and Resist +2, or, well, not necessarily him. You can give it to one of your other characters, and they can challenge ready characters. So this is one way to deal with those pesky warded characters that we were talking about, like Muses, or what's the other one?
Prince
John, or Grandpa Cogsworth. I mean, it's a shift 5, so he's coming out late, but he does give you that ability to deal with characters like that.
Yeah.
And he has a sweet enchanted as well,
which I managed to pull in one of my weekly
participation
packs. It was awesome.
That is awesome. I would love that card. Shimmering Skies had really good enchanteds.
Yeah. I picked Cinderella Stouthearted, who has the special DLC promo, but it is a 5/5 character with 3 lore, shift 5, resist 2, and the ability whenever you play a song, this character may challenge ready characters. Again, similar effect to the Arthur. This one has I think a much better stat line with the 5/5 and the resist 2. Survives so much, very hard to remove, and if you can get it down early, it just takes over the game.
Yeah, and this card thrives in Steel Song. Plus, she's inkable, so I mean, you won't play this card too often, but if you draw her early, you can always throw her in the inkwell and not feel too bad. But if you can get her out, that's a
Big
good
time.
card. That is a good card. Okay, yeah, and she's inkable. Arthur wasn't, so
Right.
all right. Let's move to 8 cost.
8 costs, where now it gets even harder to find iconic cards.
Yeah, there's exactly 2 cards in Amber to choose from, so
So
we
I
did.
pick both of them.
So I chose Chip and Dale from the most recent set. 8 cost uninkable, 6 strength, 6 willpower, 3 lore, shift 5, search and rescue. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may return a character card from your discard to your hand. I mean, that's a pretty good ability to be able to return, a Chernabog to your hand, or a Perdita, or whatever you need, whatever you might need in the moment.
Exactly.
So,
I think this card is one of those cards that is someone's just trying to figure out how to get this to work in a meta deck, and someone will figure it out.
yeah,
It may not be this set, it may be a few sets, but something's going to happen where this card becomes very viable.
I think if you were able to return the character to the board instead of your hand,
Well, that's why you use this one to bring back Perdita. Perdita brings back cards
right
into play. So this one grabs the Perdita that gets banished. The Perdita grabs all the 2-drops that got banished.
Yeah.
That's a lot of unequals, though. And the only other choice we have is the Hades King of Olympus. This one had an enchanted. It's a 6/7. This is basically the key to one of the keys to a villain deck. That never really happens because there were very few Amber villains until like set 5 or 6. This character gains +1 lore for each other villain character you have in play. And of course, again, even with shift 6 comes down late, it's very difficult to get characters to stay on the board and long enough for this to be able to have any use. So this one is just a very difficult card to get going, but I think it's mainly iconic as this card everyone saw in the bringing, like, oh, great, I get to build a villain deck, and then never got to build a villain deck.
Yeah, I remember in set 1, before we had the game in our hands, this was one of the first cards that was released, and the amount of theory crafting that went into building around this deck was, there's definitely some hype there.
And it has the jumbo card from the first chapter gift set.
Yeah, whatever happened to those jumbo cards?
They're gone.
Anyway, moving on to Amethyst. Again, 2 choices in Amethyst. So I went with Maleficent, Formidable Queen. She is uninkable. She shifts for 6, 7 strength, 7 willpower. It's a pretty good body. Her ability says when you play this character, for each of your characters named Maleficent in play, return a chosen opposing character item or location with cost 3 or less to their player's hand. And that's kind of a neat ability. It really is, but just too expensive.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is basically built as a theme Maleficent deck.
Yeah.
And really, really will shine in multiplayer.
Or if they ever do, like you say, theme deck challenges where like build a deck based around one person.
Right.
Or
one movie or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other choice, of course, is, I think, an actual iconic card, the Elsa's of Winter, 4/6 with 3 lore, shift 6, and the ability when you play this character, exert up to 2 chosen characters they can't ready at the start of their next turn. This card is powerful and has the best enchanted. If you go by price.
Well, it's a beautiful card too.
And it's fun because the same artist did both of them.
Oh wow.
Does not happen very often. The same artist usually doesn't do both the enchanted and the regular art. But anyway, this is a great card. It's been in Emerald Amethyst decks from the beginning. It goes out sometimes, comes back in sometimes, depends on the build. I think it's getting used in Sapphire Amethyst decks right now sometimes. So it is still getting used today in meta decks. It's just just a good, powerful card.
It's a great ability. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Emerald. Okay, we do have some options here. I went with this guy right here, Mr. Cheshire Cat. He's 8 cost, inkable. He shifts for 5 though, so that's nice. He has evasive, and this ability, man. I don't know if you ever played against a deck with Cheshire Cat, but you exert, banish chosen damaged character, and where Emerald, this is usually paired with Steel, they like to do that ping damage. The Cheshire Cat has evasive. He dodges Medusa. So once you get him on board, this can actually be a really powerful card.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's another one of those examples that's just a card that's hard to get going.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those combos that's just slow and hard to do, but it's a very powerful effect if you can get it going. Again, we keep saying this, but some of these cards are just so good for multiplayer where you have time to build a combo. Usually have time to build a combo because the games do last longer than normal 1v1 games.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember this card.
This is iconic just for Jared doing it to us on the multiplayer game to win. Playing this crazy. So it's Under the Sea. It's a song with Sing Together 8 and the ability to put all opposing characters with 2 or less strength to the bottom of their player's deck in any order. It's very powerful. It's a great card. It's a board wipe without having to worry about your side of the board. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's not a lot of fun.
It's not a whole lot of fun to have it happen to you and then just watch your opponent be like, oh yeah, let me wipe everything out, and then oh yeah, I'll win the game.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's limited by the fact that it's, characters that cost or have 2 strength or less. But if you combine that with Ice Block or anything like that, Kita, I think Kita was one that was really popular to combine this with. Yeah, it's basically a board wipe.
I mean, you basically just have to have one other 3-drop character and a shift Kita to sing this, and everything goes away.
Man, now I want to build a deck with it again. Okay, I had to go with the mascot of the game, Lorcana. I mean, maybe the unofficial mascot, but it's a Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor. He was one of the D23 cards.
Both years.
Yes, I guess so. He was in the original D23 box, and he was in the one that came out this last year. 8 cost. He's inkable, 5 strength, 5 willpower, 4 lore, and evasive. I mean, again, he's an absolute unit, but has never really seen play. I know in the first chapter, people tried to make this work, but...
So I had this played against me at the Vegas DLC.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow. And?
Yes.
Did it rock you?
It did. I think I 1-to-1'd him. He was playing an Amber Ruby deck, and he got this out. And I was like, "What do I do with that? What am I going to do?" Nothing.
But, the art's amazing, Nicholas Cole, and I still remember we talked about this giant hand shadow here, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, what's the story of Lorcana? What's this whole thing about being Dreamborn versus Floodborn?
Yep.
This Mickey Mouse is so cool. He's different than the one in the cartoon." So it's just an iconic card.
Yep. And I picked the one that is currently dominating in the meta, and that is the legendary Sisu, empowered sibling, 5/4, 3 lore, shift 6. When you play this character, banish all opposing characters with 2 strength or less. So it's similar to Under the Sea, except it's banished instead of put on the bottom of the deck, and it's on a body, and it can shift. This character is the kind of thing where it can come down and destroy an aggro board all on its own. It can destroy a board full of genies and Elsas, which is great because those are all going to get played on turns 4 and 5, and then this can come down on 6 to get rid of them. if you haven't been able to get rid of them yet. And it's just a really powerful card, and you're seeing it basically in every Ruby Amethyst and Ruby Sapphire deck played. Almost every. Definitely in a lot of meta stuff.
Yep. And just even the 3-drop baby Sisu that lets you banish, one strength character.
Yeah.
That's a good shift target because that allows you to get rid of Hiram and some other pesky 1-strength characters.
And then the other version, the inkable 3-drop dragon with 2 lore and the strength based on the opponent's cards. That's really great for the Flynn Sisu combo on turns 2 and 3 to help earn some lore.
That's true.
And another shift target.
All right. I went with, for 8-cost Sapphire, I went with Mufasa, Ruler of Pride Rock. And you talk about a card that had unbelievable hype. This card was unbelievably hyped by me. I was super excited for this card. I'm like, finally, Sapphire's getting its card.
Yeah.
For lore here, but it has the ability that when you quest with it, you get to ready up all of your ink, which is stupidly powerful.
Yes.
But in practice, it has turned out to just be one of those win more conditions where if you are on your way to winning, and this
shuts the door. Yeah, this shuts the door.
it very rarely brings you back from the brink of losing to a winning position. So, but it has an incredible enchanted. This is one of my all-time favorites right here.
Yeah. And one thing I'd like to mention is I think that really solidifies its iconic status is that it is the first and currently only card that has Inkwell manipulation in the reverse. We have tons of stuff that puts stuff into the Inkwell, but this is the only one that pulls stuff back out.
It's true. That is true.
I picked the other win more card, but also is a card that can help you come back. And that is Tamatoa, So Shiny, a 5/8, 1 lore character with 2 abilities. And the first one is when you play this character and whenever he quests, return an item card from your discard to your hand. And this character gets +1 lore for each item you have in play. This is the card that a lot of people were trying to make item decks work, and it kind of was so-so. But as soon as the ramp package was enabled with Hiram, this became much more viable, and then this made the dime so much more valuable as well, because then you could dime this at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lore, whatever, and like you said, earn like 14 lore in a turn, which was insane.
Yep. I mean, and I feel like a lot of the cards that we said, they're just too expensive to get going. Maybe a lot of them just need like a Lucky Dime type card, just like Tamatoa.
Yeah.
And this card never saw play until Lucky Dime, but that card made it worth playing.
Exactly. Yeah. So much value out of this now. So much value. All right. So there's only one choice for Steel, and we both picked it because there's no way this card is not the most iconic Steel 8-drop ever. The most iconic card. And what is it?
This is Gantu, and this card is so iconic that whenever you see like rankings of different cards, different legendaries, inevitably the worst tier is Gantu tier, because and this is no discredit to the artist, Luis, because this card has amazing art, but the ability is just worthless. Characters with cost 2 or less can't challenge your characters. Now, maybe if this card cost 5, maybe that's a good ability, but for costing 8 and it's not shiftable, this card has never seen play and will probably never see play competitively.
Yeah, never. I mean, someone as a joke may want to throw this in and have like this perfect deck of 59 cards and be like, you know what, I'm going to throw a Gantu in just so I can say that I won or I top 8'd at a massive event with Gantu in my deck.
That would be the rules of villainy. I have a feeling if anyone's going to do it, they are.
So, but let me tell you right now that it's probably never going to happen because it's just dead weight. It's ink. Gantu in your deck. It's like if you make the rule like we did when way back last year, the Gantu challenge, you actually have to have the Gantu in play and win a game in order for you to get the Gantu challenge. Was it icon or whatever?
Yeah.
So yeah, this card is iconic because of how bad it is, not because it is good at all. And there's really, I mean, if you look, is there any good 8-drop steel?
The only other, well, I guess there's Maui and John Silver.
Yeah, the new John Silver is much better than either of the other two, but it's still right now not really playable.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's move on to 9 and 10 cost.
9 and up, which we had to combine them because there is not much.
Yeah, we're just picking one card from each color here. So I think for Amber, we both agreed that Chernobog was the choice here.
Yeah. And still getting used. It's a great card, great ability. It's a 9/9 with 3 lore and 2 abilities for each character in your discard pile. You pay 1 less to play it. And when you play it, all the character cards from your discard get shuffled back into your deck. It's got an amazing enchanted.
Yeah.
But basically, this card is the card that is going to forever prevent mill decks. And it's just a great card. It's so hard to get rid of. Now, I would like to state that this card is also really awesome for Go-Go on the opposing side, which I did manage to do 2 or 3 weeks ago at League.
How much lore did you get?
I got 8 lore.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I ran my whole board into it. I think it was 2 or 3 characters. I ran my whole board into it and then played Go-Go and got 8 lore. And that got me from like 10 to 18.
Wow.
And he was already like at 17. And then we had to fight for the last little bit to win the game. And I ended up winning the game.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Everyone watching around was like, whoa, 8 lore.
That's pretty cool.
Of course, the only one that we could pick in Amethyst is the Olaf Happy Passenger. And again, another amazing enchanted. So colorful and awesome. It doesn't really matter what the ability is, but it's a 6/6 with 3 lore. It has evasive and the ability that you can pay 1. Is it 1 less for each character?
Yeah.
Again, another expensive card that really shines in multiplayer.
Oh yeah, for sure. But
I got to play this in ours, and everyone was like, "We have to get rid of that immediately."
Yes, we did. But again, the commonality between this and Chernobog is they're both these cost reduction cards. So I think if this one straight up costs 9, it would not be. I mean, it would be up here for the art and the lack of better choices, but it wouldn't be seeing any type of play.
Yeah. Emerald, I mean, 2 options, and I think this is the better option, the Prince Philip Vanquisher of Foes.
Yeah, so he is 6 strength, 6 willpower. He shifts for 6. He has evasive, but his ability is what you're talking about. When you play this character, banish all opposing damaged characters. And talk about a freaking board wipe. If you are able to play like Giant Tinkerbell or anything that can distribute damage across the board, and then you play Prince Philip, that's pretty much GG for your opponent.
Yeah. Or if you play this in a Robin Hood ping deck where you've managed to throw 1 damage here and there onto all the characters, and then, oh, look, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, buddy. Yeah, but again, I don't think this one sees a ton of play.
No.
There's only really one choice for Ruby.
One choice. Again, another card that has a D23 card, one of the first cards revealed, the Maleficent Monstrous Dragon. 7/5 with 2 lore and the ability, when you play this character, you may banish chosen opposing character. Straight up fire, right?
Oh, yeah. Again, it has such a prohibitive cost, but when you play it in a deck like Ruby Sapphire that lets you ramp, that's the only way that you really see this card seeing play. But yeah, just straight up being able to remove one of your opponent's card is pretty darn powerful.
Yeah, and initially this was being played in Ruby Amethyst because those games lasted long enough to get up to that ink.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's the only way that this one was getting played in Ruby Amethyst. I don't see it in Ruby Amethyst anymore, just because you never get up that high, or if you do, you want to play all the different combos you have, and you have better options.
Yeah. For Sapphire, we went with another cost reduction card, the Sheriff of Nottingham. 5 strength, 9 willpower, but it says for each item you have in play, you pay 1 less to play this character. It has 4 lore and support. I mean, this is kind of a slept on card, I think. If you're playing an item deck, you can basically play this for free if you get a lot of them online. But then having that support and 4 lore.
Yeah, so it's essentially the same as the Tamatoa up to a certain point, but this one will be cheaper to play at the same lore count that you would get from the Tamatoa, and you could get it immediately from the dime as well, just like the Tamatoa.
Yeah.
The only difference, of course, being uninkable just is sometimes the hindrance to putting it in your deck with so many uninkables that usually happen.
And I mean, the other hindrance is item decks just haven't really taken off yet. Has anybody tried this with microbots?
Someone might have. I just haven't seen it. Not in a meta deck.
Mr. Krabs item deck original. I don't know. I'll have to look. Okay. And for Steel, our last card, of course, it has to be a Goofy.
Of course. Goofy, Night for a Day. 10/10 with 4 lore. Vanilla. What else do you need on a 10/10 card, right?
Nothing really.
Throw an ability on this and be like, OP. This card never gets played.
No.
It's iconic, though.
Yeah. It's iconic for being a 10/10.
Yeah.
I totally set myself up. I remember on Twitter one time I asked people what Disney Lorcana card is a 10 out of 10, and I got about 50 people posting this card.
It's cool card. It's a 10/10 with 4 lore. It would be awesome to be able to get this into play. I mean, I know a lot of people were like, "Can you do it with Mickey Trumpeter?" Because then you only pay 2 for it or whatever. But
yeah,
like Mickey Trumpeter is going to last a turn.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Okay. Well, those are our most iconic cards. What do you guys think? Did we hit it right on the head? Did we miss something? What would you place? Those higher end cards, there just weren't really a whole lot of options.
No. So if you think there was something else, then you're wrong. I'm just kidding.
You're wrong. That's right.
All right. Man, that was fun.
So, I want to hear about your story about these new players.
Oh, so in League this week. So first off, it was the holidays, so we were a little short than normal, but we still had 15 people show up, 2 days before New Year's. Now, the fun thing about it, or the amazing thing about it, depending on how you look at it, is 6 of us there, of the 15 people, have LCQ tickets.
Wow.
So it's a very competitive weekly event. And multiple people are on the wait list wanting to go. And also one of the people there is someone who top 32'd in Vegas.
Dang.
So we have very competitive people, and we had 2 brand new players.
That's awesome.
One of them says he's been playing Magic for a few years, and then he brought his friend who is brand new to card games. I actually ended up playing both of them. I played the Magic player first. He brought a Ruby Amber Sugar Rush Speedway deck.
Cool.
That was amazing in its ability to combo. That deck, when it works so good. It is so fast and earns so much lore and card draw so fast. It was crazy.
So how do you do? Now I'm curious. How do you do overall?
I think he finished either 1-1, because we ended up only being able to finish 2 games. So we 1-1 and drew, and then I think he went 1-1 the rest of the night because he ended up around the same standings as me. I didn't do well. I bombed out after that. But then I also played his friend who had like no mat, no sleeves. He's like my friend called me and said, get a deck together in like half an hour and get on down here. So I played him, and he was he was just there. I'm just here learning. I know I'm going to lose, so I'm just here having fun, trying to learn the game. So we played a few games. I let him for one of the games. I let him borrow the Amber Steel Dwarf Mine deck to play, just so he had something different to play. And it was fun, and it was great. And I think it's really cool that even now we're still getting new players show up on a regular basis. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, well, I think that ties into one of the questions that we were asked by Martin Karp, where he asked if we got any Lorcana themed presents for Christmas. I mean, I imagine that we might see more people at locals who've never been before, because we're seeing Lorcana on the shelves now, and people are able to get it for Christmas.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, Stitch fans are hopefully getting the Stitch gift set, being able to get some cards, figure out what it is, and like, oh, well, maybe I'll go play this. Go ahead into a card shop and find out what's up.
So with that being said, did you get any Lorcana themed Christmas stuff?
No. Do you think there's anything left for me to get?
It's true. It's true.
I mean, there is, but no. We usually don't get each other Christmas presents because we just we get each other stuff all year long, and it's like, why wait for Christmas? Just buy it when we want it, if we can.
Well, bah humbug.
Yeah, I know.
Just teasing. I also did not get any Lorcana themed stuff. My family got exactly what I asked for. I wanted some new Costco ankle socks, the Puma ones. I wanted some sunglasses, and I wanted a pooper scooper for our backyard. So that was my Christmas.
So lame.
Well, it's exactly what I asked for.
Yeah, exactly. It's what you asked for. So it's like, at least I don't have to buy it, right?
Exactly, because those are all things that I was like, I should buy it, but eh.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then now our backyard is nice and clean. So there we go.
There you go.
All right. We had another listener question from the Discord, again from Big Lou 154, and he called this Citizens of Lorcana 2024 Superlatives. That's like a 7-letter word, superlative. James, what does that mean exactly? Like rewards?
I don't know exactly, but I think it's just another way to say best of.
Okay. All right. Best of. So we got some best ofs. And he gave a whole list of categories here. So I guess this is our informal award ceremony here.
Yeah.
You ready?
I think so. I may share your answers. I may come up with my own. So we'll see.
All right. So I'll respond first. That way it gives you a little bit more time to think. So he says, in your opinion, looking back at the year that was, what are, and then the first category is the best Ravensburger move, like the best thing that they did. So I was talking to James. I was talking to you on the air before we started. I was kind of listening to our podcast from last year where we talked about what, our Christmas wish list for 2024. And one of the things that you had said was that you wanted to see increased product. And definitely, like, there's Lorcana sitting on shelves now at the stores. Yep. And specifically, you said, I would love to see troves sitting on the store. So that way, if somebody wants to go get a trove, they can go, like, pick one up. Like, it's a really good entry into the game. But not only is there increased product on the shelves, but there's just increased product line itself. You were talking about the Stitch gift set. And then they're coming out with that new one that has the 5 booster packs from, or is it 6 booster packs?
5 packs from previous sets.
5 packs from previous sets. So everything like that, I like to see it, and I think that's one of the best moves that they made.
Yeah, it was incredible walking into Target over the last couple of weeks and actually seeing product on the shelf consistently for the first time, basically ever. It took them a year to get to that point, but it's easy, and stuff was on the shelves last set as well. It just wasn't in the same quantity, and it didn't stick on the shelves as long.
It's interesting because it seems like Inklings had a lot that hung out on the shelves, and then Ursula Returns was kind of Shimmering Skies. You didn't see a whole lot on the shelves. And now it seems like there's a lot of Azurite C on the shelves.
Yeah. And one thing I saw is at one of our local Targets, they had both of the new playmats, the Elsa and the Donald. And that is the first time I have ever seen a playmat in a big box store.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen one.
It was crazy. And they had them there a week later, too. So apparently people just don't know that they're there because playmats are almost always the first thing that goes.
Yeah. Okay. I might have to go check that out. Okay. So I guess this is like an anti-superlative.
Yeah.
The worst Ravensburger move. And this one's kind of tough because like we want to express our gratitude. Like I'm so grateful for Lorcana and Ravensburger and everything that they did to give us this game. Like I don't want this to come off sounding like I am ungrateful in any way. But the thing that I would say is just how there's inconsistency in how the companies ran between North America and EU. And yeah, I know I'm going to sound like a crybaby here, but even in organized play, like in the EU continentals, are the deck list open? Are they not? Like, why can they be open in the EU but closed in North America? And then selfishly speaking, as a content creator, it just seems like creators in the EU have a lot more opportunities than those in North America. And I know they're working on rectifying that. And I know North America is a much bigger country, North America and Canada, USA and Canada, than the EU. So it's definitely harder that way. But I just wish that there were some consistency between what content creators were able to do in North America as well as what they were able to do in the EU. But again, in the grand scale of things, I just want to put this in perspective. In the grand scale of things, this is a very minor thing because overall, I think Ravensburger has done a bang-up job.
Yeah. I can't think of something that would be the worst move that they made over the last year beyond the inconsistency between the two. I mean, there was even, I was reading in the rules channel on the official channel, there was even a ruling that was different between where the judges in the EU DLCs were told to do things a certain way for this one specific rule, where it was different than how the judges in the NA were told to rule it. And I guess it was because they wanted to get some feedback and some real, actual gameplay stats on how it affected things. But it's still interesting that they're using the different regions to do different things. But I agree with you that the inconsistency between the OP stuff is really where it shines in being, I don't know if you can call it unfair, but it was definitely different. And I think if the path is all leading to the world championship, the path from every region should be the same. And there should be no ways where it should be different. And of course, they'll, the EU be like, well, you guys got 6 DLCs and we only got 4. So that the path is not the same. And it's like, you can't do much about that. That's another way where, hey, we would like for you to have 6 as well. So it's not like we're saying we don't think it's fair because we think it's unfair because, things like getting the 2 chances at a last chance qualifier in the same day, having 2 chances, where in NA you get 1 chance and that's it, no matter what. So it's just things like that where we would like for there to be the consistent path going forward so that everybody has the equal chance, and if you want to talk about number of DLCs, Australia's getting 1, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, they're only getting 1, but also I think, just the way that it was announced, I don't want to say it was an afterthought, but I think when they set out their initial first year plans for organized play that, Oceania may not have been on the list, because why wait so long to announce it and why not mention anything about it leading up to Worlds? So,
right. But I think that was definitely in their plans earlier than you might think, because they've made sure never to release an actual World Championship date, even a month, so that they can push it based on how many more DLCs they want to run in these new territories that they're opening up.
Anyway, we're treading into the next topic territory, so let's save some for that. Okay, so the next superlative is best organized play moves. So the best thing about organized play for me is just the way they incentivize you to play, to want to continue playing. I think Rochelle had posted this on Twitter how, in a lot of card games after round 3, once people have got their promo for playing a lot and like they have no hope of winning, like a lot of people just check out and, they're done for the day. But what I love that they've done is they have that point system where if you get certain thresholds of points, then you get a certain amount of tickets to redeem for promos or prize packs or whatever the case may be. And I like to play Lorcana, and the fact that there's still so many people there after 9 hours of playing, I think that's awesome.
Yes, I agree. And along that, my favorite best OP move was increasing the DLC amount from 500 to 1 to 2,000.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
So many more people could actually play, and I think that was the best move. And it was incredible because they still sold out in the same amount of time with up to 4 times as many tickets available.
Yeah, agreed. You know what? Another thing, when I was listening to our 2024 wish list, we were talking about what we wished for organized play. We're like, oh, the first organized play, they have to be big. They have to be at least 300 to 400 people.
Hearing that's one of the reasons why they did it for 500, and the executives, were like, we can't do more than that because most people probably aren't expecting to do more than that.
Yeah. I guess we should have said 3,000 or 4,000.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So this brings us to the flip side of that. And we've already touched on a lot of these points as far as the worst part about organized play. And I wrote down here, there's too many things to talk about. And we've already talked about a lot of them. But for me, the biggest one is the scope, the scope of the big events. I mean, Worlds is going to be 32 people, and
not even that right now.
It's
28.
I mean, assuming there's going to be 32 people, because why would they do 28? That's just weird. So I just feel I want it to be bigger, and I know there's probably limitations to playing Lorcana at Disney World, but even at the Continentals, the fact that in the EU, at least, people were limited to 4-hour time slots inside the building. And again, I know they said that's a function of the venue where they were at, but things like that are just feel bad. And I really hope that they take a look at this first year of organized play and make a lot of improvements next year.
Yes. And I think the one I'd like to highlight is getting an official judge program up and running.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people would like to see that happen so that there is much more consistency in the judging and having an actual program to go through so that the judges that you're getting have been trained in a specific way.
Yeah. And it's just like, I know you and I follow Lorcana pretty closely, but you and I are, this is our first TCG. And for us to notice this many things that could be improved upon, I don't know. Here's to a better 2025.
I think so.
And I want to throw one more thing in. The gap between the last DLC in North America and Worlds. I wish that there was more organized play going on. I just do. I hate that we still don't know when Worlds is. So we don't know how big that gap is going to be.
I think it can be as April.
And I wish they would tell us that, number one. And I wish that there was at least one organized play event going on a month. I mean, that would allow more people to go play. That would keep things interesting in the competitive play space. So, yeah.
And I think that's going to happen at some point. I think we're going to scale up to that. I think that what they managed to accomplish, and as you mentioned, this is not like, we don't want to sound like we're all angry about things that they did. We know that it's a new company. They're doing new things. They got a lot bigger than we could have ever expected in the first year, having 10 DLCs across the world that had 1,000 to 2,000 people at each one.
Yeah,
is actually pretty amazing.
It's very amazing, and
It's
hats
just,
off to them.
it's just the success is like, well, what can you do for us now, kind of a thing. You've proven you can do that, so let's keep going.
And even if they were just even if they just came out and said, we hear you guys and we want you to know that we're going to go in and we're going to reevaluate the organized play program from top to bottom. Like, even hearing something like that would provide a lot of confidence. So,
Which is
anyway.
interesting because I don't know if you saw, we talked about it, but in the rules channel a month or so ago, they said that they'll keep updating the current rule book, but they are actually going to spend all of this next year rewriting the rule book from the bottom up to have a brand new rule book that's going to come out at the end of 2025, I think, or early 26, to where it's like a completely restructured rule book.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah. So they're doing stuff.
Yes. And again, they've done phenomenal. I mean, if they went from expecting 500 people to having to create events where there's 2,000 plus, like, hats off to them. I can't imagine logistically and financially how much of a strain that was. So I definitely want to acknowledge that. So let's move on to the next category, which is the news story of the year. Okay. For me, this is probably going to get a lot of comments, but definitely shutting down Pixelborn. And I understand why they did it. I didn't think I'd miss it as much as I did, but Pixelborn was definitely a way to connect people, a way for people to be able to play, a way for people to be able to practice, making new friends. There's just so much that Pixelborn did for this community. And I don't feel like it necessarily took away from the competitive scene at all, because people are still going to turn out for the organized play. But again, I totally understand why they shut it down. I just think that that's the story of the year because it was such a big deal.
It definitely affected things for sure. And you can come down on whatever side you want to come down on. And it was a thing that was not legal.
Not legal, yes.
So they had to do something at some point. It's just a matter of when. And so it's what happened. And now we just move on and go from there and hope that we get an official version sooner rather than later.
Because I will say, now that my schedule's getting busier and it's harder for me to go out to locals and stuff, I've been playing the Pokemon Pocket TCG. It's just so nice. It's so nice to be able to play it on my phone whenever the heck I want.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, my story, I agree that was probably the biggest one, but my other big story of the year was the D23 news that we're getting Pixar in 2026.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought about doing D20 or D23 as well, but yeah.
That doesn't really need a whole lot of follow-up. We're getting Pixar in 26. Yay!
Getting Pixar. Okay, so favorite community story. For me, I had to choose another thing that happened at D23, and that was Steve, Ryan, Rochelle, and the whole crew showing up. After the first day of D23, we met in a little hotel food court area.
Yeah.
And they brought packs down. We played Pack Rush, and it was just awesome to see how much they love the game, how much they love the community, and how much they support and want to see it grow and thrive. Like, they really care about us. And that's the vibe I get every time I interact with them.
And so I don't know. I'll share this story as generically as possible, but while we were waiting for them to show up, if they were going to show up, I went walking from the food court over to the lobby, and just happened to be just as Steve and Ryan came into the lobby. No, they were actually there already. Sorry. They were sitting down and they were just getting up because they were I think they're having a quick bite or a drink or something with Shane and a few others from the company. And just before they got up, a small group of other people were sitting down because it was one of those big tables where a lot of people can sit down, and they were wearing uniforms, and they were military. I think they were USO. And because of not only Ryan's military history, but just generally how awesome of people they were. They talked to them for a minute, they chatted with them, and then they handed them all promo cards uh, and I think they even gave them some packs, possibly. I don't remember exactly, but basically they stood there and they talked with them for a few minutes, just um, sharing kindness with people because they were in the military and as part of the USO, their job is to show kindness to the members of the military. And I think it was just really nice to see them acknowledge that at a time when like all they had to do was just get up, pay their bill, and walk away, and they could have done that, but instead they stayed and chatted and um, were really nice human beings. And I think that comes through. And it was at times when they didn't need to be. So I think that was really cool. And that's just the kind of people that they are that are running your game that you're enjoying.
I never heard you share that story before. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, in that same vein, I mean, again, at D23, like Ryan was handing out packs in the park. There was that line at Downtown Disney of people waiting to get product, and they were there handing out pins and stuff. Like,
yeah,
all these things are things that they don't have to do, but they do. And it just shows their love and passion for the game. So, all right, next category, favorite deck you've played. I think you and I are probably going to have a similar answer, but I really enjoyed playing Emerald Amethyst there in the Shimmering Skies meta.
Yeah.
It was just such a fun deck. It was competitive against every other deck. It had very few bad matchups. And it was different from Ruby Amethyst. It was different from Ruby Sapphire, which are decks that I had been playing. So it was just a fun deck to play. I didn't win a set championship like you, but I took it to Vegas. I got my 30 points, and I really enjoyed rocking that deck.
Yeah, I agree. Honorable mention to the one that did get me a top 8 in the set champ, which was Amethyst Steel. TFM's Vegas deck. I played that like just a week or two later or something like that at a set champ, and I got a top 8. And so I was pretty happy with that. That deck was a lot of fun. I really like those quick little decks that have some teeth to them. And so I've been playing, a few different things like that. And I think I may take another surprise deck to set champs this time. Since I'm going to be playing something, for the LCQ that is, built for the LCQ, I want to play something funner.
Not a word.
Whatever. Something more fun at the set champ, because I'm going to try and do 2 or 3 again and try and get my Scar promo. And if I manage to do it with a fun deck, great. Then I can play another deck and just keep trying things.
Yeah. How fun. Okay. So next category is favorite art of the year. And I have mine here queued up, ready to go. Of course, if you've been following me on Twitter, I already posted this. But for me, it's this guy right here. This Scar Vengeful Lion Enchanted just has everything. The greens are just so vibrant. And Scar perched atop this rock here, and there's that little silhouette of the Simba drawing in the background. If I could hug this card, I would. I love it.
Yep. I have quite a few I could pick, but I think I'm going to pick, if you want to pull it up, in the Amethyst, the 5th Spirit, Elsa. The one that's on the playmat, the first one in the top left corner.
Oh my gosh. How did I miss that?
So this one I think I'm picking mainly because I think it's beautiful art. It has a playmat now, which I think is going to be the playmat I'm using for a while. And I even took the time and effort to track down 4 foils, to put 4 foils in my deck of this card. When I don't use foils, I just I don't feel the need to foil out my deck, but I did it with this one because I just love the art so much. So I think I'm going to pick this one.
It's a beautiful card. And not enchanted. I'm surprised.
My runner-up is the Olaf Enchanted.
But I'm also not surprised that it's a Frozen or a Goofy card. So
yeah. I could have picked Super Goof. Super Goof is an amazing card too, and that is an enchanted.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so now we have our favorite set. And for me, hands down, like this was not even a question. It was Shimmering Skies. That was the most fun that I've had in Lorcana, I think, period. Like that's when I went to the Vegas DLC. I loved the deck that I was playing with. I loved the meta. The cards were super fun. The enchanteds were amazing. Yeah, so for me, Shimmering Skies and Shimmering Skies was also pretty impactful on the meta. So all those reasons, I'm giving Shimmering Skies the nod.
I picked Shimmering Skies for the enchanteds, but I think I'm going to pick Azurite for how wide it's made the meta, which is great for the game, even if it really sucks for my stress levels of picking a deck.
Yeah, how do you prepare when there's such a wide open meta?
Yeah, and again, going back to the standard, pick the deck you want to, you love to play or like to play, and play that because there's so many good decks. Play a good one that you like. Don't worry about it from there. Just get really good at that deck.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, so now last category is card of the year. Okay, so this is subjective. I'm not saying that this is the best card competitively or has the most value or is the best card ever, but this is a card that I've been asking to come into Lorcana from like basically day one, and it is Oswald, the Lucky Rabbit. You talk about cards that are overhyped, though. I hate to say it. This card was so hyped, and just it pains me. It pains me.
How could
But
it not be hyped? I mean, it's the first Oswald in the set, and it's the only one so far. Again,
yeah, and it's just such a cool looking card. It got the D23, enchanted treatment or full art treatment from this last D23 set. It was leaked a set ahead of time, and yeah, I just love that Oswald's in the game, and I hope that we get more.
yep. I'm gonna pick the I think the obvious choice, the Diablo.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good
For
choice.
how good it is, for it has a really nice enchanted, and how it shaped the meta for multiple sets.
Mm-hmm. At least 3 sets.
Yeah, this card was the dominant card in Lorcana for a significant portion of the year.
Yeah, good choice. I wonder what I would have chosen if I went for meta defining. All right. Well, I guess we have a little bit of news. We have the LCQs coming up, the Continentals next week.
Yeah. From when we're recording this, it is in 9 days.
Yeah, so I guess the reason why I said that in question mark is because I have not gone off a wait list. I don't have a ticket. So we'll see. We'll see if I show up.
Hopefully you get in as an attendee or something. Hopefully you can get there. Just show up with a sign like, we'll give Oswald,
we'll give Flounder autographs.
We'll give Flounder autographs for LCQ ticket.
Oh man. Yeah, that's a week from when this drops. That's crazy.
Yeah, man, I have so much practicing to do. I got to get so many games in. I'm probably gonna go to like league in a store I don't normally regularly go to. I'm probably gonna go to a Sunday league just to run games. Beth's gonna be so upset. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I gotta go run games. Go run games all day long. Sorry.
I have to ask: is Team Discarded still going on?
We're kind of ish a team, but a lot of us have just not enough time to dedicate to full-time testing. But we definitely have our own little chat that we go on, and we bounce ideas, and whenever we have a chance to, we can run games against each other. So it's more of a low-key team, but I'm definitely, I think right now, the only one with an LCQ ticket in the group.
I can't believe Eric doesn't have one.
He can't.
Oh,
as media, he cannot get a thing, I think is what it is. Something like that. I don't know. There's something going on that, whatever. But he says he can't go in. But he has an attendee, so he's going as an attendee.
I want an attendee. Honestly, I didn't apply for an LCQ ticket. I applied for an attendee ticket because I'm not going to advance to the championship, but
I don't have I don't think like I'm like, yes, I'm gonna do it, but I'm definitely gonna give it my best. And
well, you never know. The EU Continental taught us.
I know that's what it gives me hope. It gives me hope that I mean, honestly, it would be so amazing just to make it into the championship.
It really would.
Be able to say that I'm one of the 128 people that is in the North American Championship. That'd be
so cool.
So
I'll channel all my energy and give it to you. It's not much.
you. That's my goal. That's my goal for this year, and then I can retire from super competitive and just be normal competitive.
Okay. I'll believe that when I see it. All right. Is there any other news that we missed?
End of year, everyone's on holiday, everyone's taking a break, so I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of news. There's been a couple of big events that have had some interesting meta decks, but that's for another day to talk about.
Alrighty. Well, I hope everybody had a happy New Year's. Here's to hoping for a better 2025. If you liked what you heard, you can follow us on YouTube. You can subscribe on the podcasting platform of your choice. You can find me on the website formerly known as Twitter at Citizens of Lorcana. Yeah, James, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere online at Dan Regal.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit here. Again, you may have seen me post this on Twitter. I am adulting in 2025. And so I'm going to be changing some priorities around, which is going to give me less time available to dedicate to podcasting and going to locals and stuff. So for the next couple weeks, we'll definitely put out a podcast. And then after that, we just have to figure out where we're going to go from there. Originally, I was talking to James about just shutting it down altogether, but we've been talking about maybe doing once a month or once every other week. We'll just have to see what kind of rhythm we fall into. Because I'll be honest, as I was thinking about it, James, okay, this episode is really our 2-year episode together. And so as I was thinking about it, I was just getting kind of emotional because it's been such a big part of my life, and I'm grateful for everybody who's tuned in and made this possible. I wouldn't be doing this if people weren't listening, obviously, and if we weren't having fun. So it's hard to just sit there and think about walking away. But there's definitely going to be some changes in the upcoming year, but we'll definitely keep you posted.
Yep, we'll still be around. It's not like we're going away. It's just once we figure it out, you'll hear from us what is happening with the podcast.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.